Hello everyone, this is the Mind of Lilith, and thank you for joining me today. I hope you're all doing very, very well. I wanted to hop on here quickly to discuss Kandi and Latocha's marriage. And so it came out recently that Latocha's husband may have been having a long-term affair, and Kandi recently admitted that she and Todd, her husband of 9 years, still have threesomes. I think Todd and Kandi have always had threesomes. I think that may have been a condition of their marriage, to be honest. And if you guys remember some of my commentary from before, I don't necessarily think that an open or polyamorous marriage is a bad thing if both parties are okay with it. But there were some conditions that I said would be acceptable for me to, feel comfortable with a woman having an open polyamorous marriage. I said that if the woman is in charge of the process, the selection process of the woman, and the man is the primary breadwinner, so the woman has to be in charge and the man has to be making the most money for me to feel comfortable with a situation where the woman is in a polyamorous marriage, because we all know that, men will choose a side piece that is destructive to the family and who wants to replace the wife. So the woman being in charge of that process kind of mitigates that risk of the man finding someone who wants to take the wife's place. So that's why I said that the wife should choose, because a wife will more than likely choose someone, if she were to choose a second wife, that would add to the family and not just for her own sexual gratification. Okay? Men are more so selfish in that regard. They don't really care about how the mistress or the side piece would treat the wife. They just want what they want at the moment. Okay? So the reason why Kandi and Latocha's situation is an issue for me is because both conditions have not been met. I said that the wife would have to choose and the husband would have to be the breadwinner for me to feel okay with it. Now, this is just my opinion. I'm not important here. I'm just giving my opinion based on how I feel about the situation. This does not mean that whatever I say goes. Like, you have to follow my rules. I'm not saying that at all. But in Latocha and Kandi's case, both of the women earn more money than their husbands. They're financially independent and self-sufficient and self-sustaining, which means that they have skill sets that they can use to provide a pretty good lifestyle for them and their children, regardless of who they're married to. So this is where I have an issue, because unless Kandi and Latocha are the ones facilitating the polyamorous situation, I don't think their husbands deserve extracurriculars. You don't deserve that. Sorry, you haven't earned that. Okay? Just because you married a woman who's more successful than you doesn't mean you deserve the spoils of that fame and that success, which would be extracurriculars, in my opinion. So in what world is an average man entitled to be treated like a king? Traditionally, kings or princes or men who were in high court, they had ample resources to take care of multiple women and children. But somehow in America, it got flipped. And the paupers think that they can receive king treatment as if they're pimping their wives. So yes, in traditional matriarchal cultures, the women passed the men around like blunts, and the men were used for babies. And the women basically controlled everything from labor, resource allocation, family dynamics, reproduction, rites of passage, the military education. Like, the women control it all, right? So back then, a man could have multiple women, but the women were in charge of that process, and the man was essentially like, a piece of meat that she could use to make babies, and that's it, because the women were in charge of the culture. We were protecting and providing for the children, and the man was just there for breeding. That's how it was back in the day. But the women were in charge. That's important, right? The women were not being submissive to these men. They were the ones submitted to, because they were the ones in charge of the culture and the society. But today, these men want to be married to women who are providers, who don't need them financially, and they still want to be submitted to like kings, while depending on their wives for their livelihoods or their lifestyles. I'm not saying that Todd was broke when he met Kandi. I'm saying that Todd would not be living the way that he's living had he not married Kandi. Period. So they have to submit to these men while taking care of them. This don't make no sense. So you get the benefits of my resources and you have time to have fun with other women. I have to work like a man to provide for you, to make sure you have a lifestyle that you want. I gotta work like a man with 15,000 jobs, have the babies, and you can still have fun with other women laid up in my bed in my house that I pay for. Is that what's supposed to be happening right now? That's it? So this is why I stated earlier that I think that Kandi having threesomes was a condition of their relationship. I think Todd expressed to her from the outset that if we're going to get married, then this is what I need. Or Kandi may have offered that. I don't know. She may have been the one to present that, but I don't think so. Because based on what I've seen of Todd when he first came on Real Housewives of Atlanta, I think he mentioned that Kandi wasn't really his type. I think Portia was his type, from what I gathered from years ago when I used to watch the show. And I barely watched it then because it was so ignorant. But I remember when Kandi first started, wanting marriage, she started changing her standards. Instead of looking for the big, buff, muscular, handsome, attractive man, she was like, okay, he wanted to get married. I'm getting older. I want kids. Todd came around. It was whatever, right? And Todd alluded to the fact that Kandi was not his preference per se, which is whatever, because most of us don't get to marry our preference. That's fine. But I think that for Todd, this was a condition for the relationship. Or it may have been a condition for Kandi, because apparently she may be bisexual if she's okay with him doing this. But a lot of women pretend to like these bisexual polyamorous relationships because they are desperate for marriage. And they know that, in a place like Atlanta, there are like 15 women to one man. And that's not including the gay men, the men with diseases, the men with no jobs. Like, it's really a desert out there. So a man like Todd, who would be considered a 3 or 4 in any other major city, could be treated like a king by someone like Kandi. So he has played that to his advantage. A lot of men in these southern places use the fact that a lot of black men don't have their stuff together as an advantage. They use that to their advantage. They use that to elevate themselves to a status or a level of value that's not real. Because in no other community are you valuable if you are dependent on your wife for resources. That's not value to me. Now, you can add value in other ways. You can be a good father. You can be a good protector. You can be a good counsel, good support, whatever the case may be. But a lot of these men are not that. A lot of these men are dependent on their wives, and they're also abusive at the same time because they know that they need their wives for support. So a lot of these men, like Martell, they treat their wives as if they're settling for them so that the wife doesn't know her value. So that the wife feels like, her fighting for the man's love is her winning, right? As long as I'm fighting for you, as long as I'm in the position to fight for you, to love me, I'm winning in life because you're settling with me. That's the way that men have rigged the game in their favor in the black community. The men in the community have hit rock bottom as far as resources and value and, having a sense of purpose and being good quality men. A lot of them have hit rock bottom. A lot of them are drug addicts. They may be bisexual. They may have diseases, a bunch of kids they don't want to take care of. So their valuation has plummeted to zero. But because there's such a scarcity of attractive black men who are healthy and educated and good people in general, the value of the scrubs and the bums is still elevated. So the men have rigged the game in their favor so that they don't have to really put in much effort, and they'll still get a woman like Kandi and Latocha to think that they're the prize. Because now, having all your teeth, being straight, not even, liking women, because some of these men are go both ways. Having all your teeth, liking women to some extent, and having a job makes you a good catch in the black community. Does he have a job? Does he have all his teeth? Is he cute? Doesn't matter about his integrity. Doesn't matter about his financial security. Doesn't matter about his character. That doesn't matter. As long as he's here and breathing, he's good to go. And this is why Todd and Tasha's husband, Rocky, I think his name is, this is why they're so arrogant and self-assured. Because Kandi will fight for her husband as if he's some prize. I'm not saying he's an evil, wicked troll. But I'm saying that he's not worth what he thinks he is. She gave him value, more value. But he may be treating her as if he's the one giving her value. That's what happens in our society when you have a scarcity of resources. There is a scarcity of good-looking, healthy, mentally sane black men in our community. So the ones who do the bare minimum, like Todd and Rocky, they're put on a pedestal. And so they get to have a woman taking care of them and threesomes as if they're kings. And the woman has to submit to them. So you get a submissive woman who's taking care of you, and you get to have women on the side. No. This is how women end up like Wendy Williams. Wendy Williams should be a cautionary tale for all women, not just black women, all women. Wendy Williams was already a boss when she met her husband, Kevin Hunter. She was already legendary in the radio game when she met her husband, who had nothing to his name besides being tall and black. That's it. And so she gave him value, and he turned around and used her for her money to take care of another woman. He probably did things to her and said things to her throughout the years that messed with her self-esteem. Wendy Williams already had a low self-esteem. That's why she married him in the first place. But he surely didn't help. He did not help. Kevin Hunter did not help Wendy's mental health. Okay? So this brings me to my question. Why are Kandi and Latocha married? I do understand the desire to have a nuclear family, okay, with the babies, legacy, unity, image, the protection of a husband, right? The security of that. But are the benefits of marriage sociological and psychological for women and tangible and material for the husbands? Like, does Kandi feel like Todd, a man who she technically does not need, makes her life better, makes her more valuable? How does he do this? And how would Kandi's quality of life be that much worse if she wasn't married to Todd? And the same goes for Latocha, who said that she's in an open marriage. Now, open can mean one of two things. Again, they are transparent with each other. They don't have secrets, which I don't believe. That's just BS. Or it can mean that, her husband can do his thing on the side as long as he shows up at events as her husband, as long as he doesn't embarrass her on social media, as long as the side piece doesn't show up pregnant, she'll be okay with him messing with other women because they've been married for decades, and it is what it is. It could mean that too. But whether Latocha agrees to it or not, I believe Rocky has had multiple affairs. I think he's cheating. Why wouldn't he cheat? If he's a liar and a thief that would steal from her family, from his own family, I guess, because Tamika is his sister-in-law. If he will steal from his own family, why wouldn't he cheat on his wife? Why not? So, what are the benefits of marriage for them? Besides sociological and psychological, like I got a husband, somebody claimed me, I'm not out here by myself, but these men are they're embarrassing you and treating you like crap. Latocha's son with Rocky is grown, so she's not staying for the children, right? They've been married for decades. Now, if Latocha got a divorce from Rocky, she would definitely have to pay alimony. And Rocky knows this. Rocky knows that Latocha knows that it's cheaper to keep him. And Latocha is far too black, far too Christian, and far too Southern to pay alimony to a man while he's laid up with another woman. Because we all know, in some black Christian cultures, the man is the king, and he's akin to God. So Latocha won't abandon her God just so that another woman can claim to have her God in her bed every night while she's paying all the bills in the house. That's not happening. So Rocky knows that she ain't going nowhere. So he's going to continue to do her dirty because she has been conditioned by society and culture and her family and her husband to believe that her life is better because she has a cheating, lying, sniveling, manipulative man in it. That's what happens when you put marriage on a pedestal above all else. I'm not saying that marriage is bad. Some marriages are really, really good. Some people, when they get married, their life gets better. Their life expands. It grows. But usually in these situations, because marriage is not natural, patriarchal marriages are natural. It's a military construct. There will always be some element of abuse, or there's usually, not always, there's usually some element of abuse and sacrifice in the relationship when it comes to the woman's part. Some men go through it too. But from my experience and observation as a woman who was born in the 80s and who's seen marriages, my parents were married. I have friends who are married. I have family members who are married. It usually gets to the point where someone feels like they're missing out on something else. And for me, why does the missing out always have to be sex? Why does it have to be the case? Because whenever people say they want threesomes or they want an open marriage or they're swingers, they usually say that they want to bring spice back into their life, right? Why does spice have to be sex? Why can't spice be going back to school? Why can't spice be traveling and learning new things? Why does spice have to be sex? Why? Yes, we're all sexual creatures. I get that. But I personally have never wanted to have sex with someone else besides my partner that I've been with at the time. So I have no interest in bringing someone else's energy into that dynamic because my energy is pretty much self-sustained in a sense. I feel like when couples do this, and I'm going to be honest, I feel like when couples go out there outside their relationship to have threesomes, not to build, right? Not to have families. No, just to have sex with the person because you're not sharing my resources. I just want to use your energy to revitalize my marriage to somebody who I wasn't compatible with in the first place. So that's what I think threesomes become. It becomes a situation where people who are married who may not have been compatible off the rip bring someone else into the situation, to the relationship, for the sake of using that person's energy to revitalize their marriage. Wouldn't that be considered energy vampirism? Isn't that what Tiny and T.I. were doing? Just using random women for sexual gratification? They didn't want to invest in the women or to build the women up. They just wanted to use the women's bodies for their gratification. And that's it. Because God forbid somebody show they're pregnant. I don't think that Kandi will be okay with one of their mistresses or flings coming up pregnant. Because that would mean that she would have to share her resources with someone else. And I don't think that's the objective. The objective is to use someone else's body sexually to infuse energy into this dead ass relationship. So what's the point of the marriage? For social media? For floss? To flex? I don't understand. Yes, again, I'm not averse to polygamous situations because you're building with someone, right? You're building with another woman. The other woman's bringing her fertility. She's bringing her resources, her energy. She's helping to take care of the children. She's, helping to build the wealth of the family, in a sense. She's adding to the family. As opposed to, let's bring someone in from the streets who may need money, right? I'm not sure who they're sleeping with, whatever. Let's bring someone in from the streets who may need money, and I'll just use their bodies for sex. I'll use their energy to remain invested in this marriage. This is why I said men cheat with women who make it easier for them to stay married. A lot of married people, men and women, do this too. They cheat with people on the outside who aren't married so that they can stay married because their marriage is boring and whack to them. Not all marriages are boring and whack, no. But they do that to revitalize their relationship. And this is why I would never be a side piece. Ever. Not knowingly anyway. Because you're only messing with me as a married man so that you can stay married to your wife. That's all. You don't want to invest in me like that. You don't want to build with me. You just want to use me so that you can tolerate your unhappy marriage a little bit longer. That's what Martel was doing with Melody and Ariane. He needed an outlet for whatever frustrations he was having with Melody. And Ariane was the right tool for that. He used her for that. And so Ariane was like, let me flip the script and I'll start using him. Not just for money. I'm going to have a baby by him because now he has to invest in me. He has to treat me the way he treats his wife. That was the goal, the objective. Was it accomplished? I don't think so. It wasn't because Martel never saw Ariane as that in the first place. He only wanted to use her energy for himself. And again, this is one of the reasons why I never envied married people. People who envy married people have never seen a married couple. They more than likely have never lived with or been around with a married couple for a significant period of time. They only see the outside, right? The dates and the vacations and the Instagram posts. They only see that part of it. They don't see the day-to-day dynamics of the boredom, of the listlessness, the sense of frustration. It's not all bad all the time. Some marriages, they have low points and high points. All marriage is not bad. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that people need to stop idealizing relationships and marriage. And married folk need to stop using single folk to feel better about being married while at the same time bragging about marriage. Right? You can't brag about being married and being chosen and the one for someone at the same time hunting for single meats in the streets. Hunting for food for your dry marriage. No, you can't have it both ways. I'm sorry. You can't brag about being married while at the same time using single people to feel better about your marriage in one way or the other. Either you do it comparatively. Oh, I'm so happy I'm married. I don't have to deal with this anymore, right? My life is so much better after getting married. But at the same time, your husband or you are acting single, but you want the social cachet or the social capital that comes along with being married. No, it don't work that way. Some women know the game. Some women will never fall for the idea that marriage is the end all be all. And if only I was married, my life would be better. No, it would not. That's not automatically the case. It's not automatically the case because some husbands are Martian. Some are Saturnian. Some are Jupiterian. A Martian husband would be destructive to your life. He'd be violent in some type of way. Angry, controlling, destructive, abusive, competitive. Some husbands are like this. Some husbands are Saturnian. They're with you out of obligation and duty. The love is gone, but they feel responsible for you. And so, they're there out of guilt and responsibility and frustration. And you feel it because they won't have sex with you as much anymore. They'll talk to you with an attitude. They don't want to be around you, but they're still there. They'll take care of you, but they don't really like you like that, right? And some husbands are Jupiterian. Some husbands enrich and expand their wives' lives, right? They teach them things in a positive, affirming way. They expand their worldview. They're financially beneficial to their wives. That's a possibility also. So the quality of your marriage and your husband depends on, what's going on with your seventh house. But yeah, all marriages are not bad. But marriage is not a fairy tale neither. Marriage is not a fairy tale neither. If I were to ever get married, I'm not having a big ass wedding. I would go to the courthouse. That's it. It's a legal documentation. It's paperwork. All the Cinderella theme, to me, I'm gonna be honest. I think women who want the huge wedding are more likely to be disillusioned with the reality of marriage. The whole big ceremony, $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 for the big wedding. You got the church and the dresses, and it's not always the case. Some women are realistic, even with the big wedding. But when women put the emphasis on the wedding and not the marriage itself, they're going to be very disappointed when they get married. They're going to find out that they actually married a frog or the beast in Beauty and the Beast and not some prince in a tuxedo. Your husband's not going to wear that tuxedo every single day. Okay? You're not going to be in a Cinderella gown every single day. You're going to have on sweatpants, t-shirts, jeans, no clothes, whatever the case may be. It's not going to be a fairy tale every day. You have to be realistic when it comes to your marriage. I don't know if Kandi and Latocha expected this when they first got married. Like the way that their marriages are now, did they see this coming? Did Kandi think that her husband would need to have threesomes to maintain interest in the marriage? I don't know. Does Kandi think that having threesomes means that he's not cheating? Right? But this could be her wanting the threesomes as well. Now, I'm going to say this. If Kandi and Todd are having threesomes with both men and women, then I can say, okay, Kandi is the one who is in charge of this process, so on and so forth. But if it's only women, then no. I think this is Todd's doing. I think it's Todd's doing if it's only women. Okay? Because I'm absolutely sure and positive that if Kandi's attracted to other women while she's married, why wouldn't she be attracted to other men too? There are gorgeous men in Atlanta, all over the country, but there's plenty of attractive men in Atlanta that would love to smash her. Why wouldn't she be doing that if that's the case? So I think that Todd said, as a condition of this relationship, this marriage, if you want me to commit to you, we have to do this. We have to. I think a lot of high-profile men, so-called high-profile men, expect this of their wives. You saw what happened with Martell. Martell was like, I'm a good father. I'm a good provider, so to speak. I'm a good husband. Why can't I have some fun? I'm doing all this good stuff. She needs to submit to me and do whatever I say. I look better than everybody on the show. And they get to have other girlfriends, but I don't. Some men feel entitled to extra booty on the side. They get angry when they don't get it. They feel like they're losing out on life if they can't have sex with a woman that they can't stand, right? Sometimes men need to have sex with women that they hate to feel alive. They feel like, if I don't have sex with a woman that I hate, I'm not really living life. It's not real. I can't appreciate my wife unless I have sex with a woman that I can't stand. I can't appreciate my wife unless I'm sleeping with somebody else. I think DMX said this. DMX was like, when we get married, it's like eating the same thing every single day, right? But when you have sex with somebody else, you get to appreciate what you're eating every day more. And of course, DMX is Sagittarius. So this is how a lot of them think. And I'm not saying it's not natural. That could be true. I've never felt that way, but that's true. In a lot of cases, a lot of women feel like, or men feel like, being with the same person every day is like eating the same thing every day. You get bored with the same food every day. But that's why it's important to enrich your lives outside of sex. Do things to stimulate yourselves intellectually, grow and develop as people, psychologically and spiritually. And this is one of the main reasons why I think that husbands and wives should not live in the same home together. I don't think they should. I'm not saying that they should cheat. No, I'm saying that if you get married, it's best to have your own place so that you and your husband can see each other when you want to, maybe 3 or 4 times a week. Then you both go to your respective homes, take care of business, decompress, clean up, whatever. Not cheat and have other people in your place. That ruins the whole dynamic. It has to be that you're in your own separate places and you're both respecting the relationship regardless, right? I'm not cheating. You're not cheating. You can come over whenever you want to. There's no mystery, no secret, nothing. It will only work that way. It's not going to work if you have separate places and then one person is having, parties and threesomes while you're not together. That's not going to work. That's you might as well not get married at all then. But having your own separate quarters or your own separate homes, it does safeguard your energy a bit longer. Because when you live with someone, your energies become merged together, right? And the magnetism dissipates. So it's like having 2 magnets stuck to each other. They lose their attraction over time. They start to repel, or they don't stick together at all because the energies are the same, right? So when you're living separately, you still have your own life and you still have your own individual frequency vibration because you have your own mentality. You're in your own space. You're not emotionally or psychologically codependent on a person. None of that, right? It's all good for you. And so, yeah, if you live with your partner, that attraction will dissipate a lot quicker. You may feel safer, though, because he's coming home to me every night. So I know exactly where he is. So that means that he loves me. No. A man can come home to you every single night and still have a female on the side, like Martell did with Melody. That's not security for me. If I have to see you every single day to feel secure with you, then I shouldn't be with you at all because that's not security. For me, love is freedom. That's for me. It doesn't have to be for everybody else. Some people are more so like, I have to see you and touch you and talk to you every single day. That's not necessary. Now, talking, I think that should happen on a daily basis, okay? But seeing each other or touching each other, that's not necessary. If you trust your partner and your partner is trustworthy, that's another point. It's not enough to trust them. They have to be trustworthy. If they're trustworthy, you can have a really, really good relationship with somebody that you're not living with. Because when you go to his house, it's like a vacation. When he goes to your house, it's like a vacation, right? And you guys can have more fun together that way versus, oh my God, wake up to this person every single day. It's routine. It's the same thing. It's a pattern. It's repetitive. I'm bored now. That's just human nature. Humans get bored doing the same thing every single day. But I don't think that spice has to be sex with a third or fourth party. I don't think so. Again, if you want to do that, that's cool. But if you are the breadwinner as a woman and your husband's dependent on you financially, why would you be doing that? He doesn't deserve that. He hasn't earned that. If your husband's making bank and he's, provided for you and you're comfortable, whatever the case may be, I would be more understanding. That makes sense. But, not the other way around. No, that's not fair. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I look forward to reading your feedback. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will speak to you soon.